don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Hello, Damn Nation, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Today's energy, there is a lot going on, and there is a lot of feelings. And I know that we share many of the same feelings and sentiments, and we are going to get to all of that today. But I'm going to start with the reflection on the video that I just played of Martin Luther King Jr. talking about the fact that we will make it to the mountaintop, but we all may not be together. Today is one of those days where we need to take stock in how far we have come and how far we still must travel to get to a place where equality, equity, and justice actually does rain down on all people. This is not about creating a perfect society. It is about creating a country and a world that we can be proud of. Understanding that with great darkness, light always follows. And I want to say that again. With great darkness, light always follows. It may not come in the order or in the time frame that you want, but it does indeed come. And so if we allow ourselves to get tripped up with every single news alert, with every single headline from now until the end of Trump 2.0's reign, you will be exhausted, you will be defeated, and you will be hopeless. And I will tell you that that has never been the point of any teaching of Martin Luther King Jr., who today we celebrate and we honor. Aside from what else happened today, today is a day of deep reflection when we ask ourselves, what is the future we are creating? What do we want our future to look like? Because you see, friends, right now, we are witnessing something that we have not experienced in our lifetime, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. In his 39 short years of life, before he was assassinated by the very people and the very energy that was present on that dais today, He set up for the American people, for the world, a pathway to freedom. Understanding that the arc is long, but that it bends towards justice, understanding all of these things. But Dr. Martin Luther King also warned us consistently about those who would be obstacles in our way on our march to freedom. So it is incredibly important, dear friends, that we understand our role and create a role for ourselves in this resistance. Because we all have a role and we all have a place, and it is important, it is critical in this moment, in this time, that you carve out what your responsibility is going to be. Now, I'm going to tell you that I am not placing energy where energy is not going to serve me. My job is to report what is going on, to offer my analysis and my thoughts, but I am not going to be following every goddamn headline. I'm not going to be following every bad story. Because what is the purpose of that except to add to the chaos that is already present? I see my role, my responsibility as an educator. It used to be that I taught children in classrooms, then went to Capitol Hill and worked on education policy. Now I see my role as an educator for all people, not just our youth, but to an informed public is the best weapon and tool against autocracy. Because the more information, truthful information that you can take in, the more likely you are to be less compliant with oppression. So that is where I see my role. It is up to each and every single one of you to think about what your responsibility is in this moment. We all know that the platforms that we use are going to be turned against us, are going to be weaponized. But the fact is, friends, that each of you have a platform, whether you have one person following you or 1 million. So what is the message? What is the energy? What are you offering? How are you going to be building community? How are you going to be seeking out joy? Because in the age, this gilded age of cruelty, in this new abnormal of the oligarchy, how we treat one another, how we show up for one another is going to matter more now than it has ever mattered before. So if you don't know your neighbors, introduce yourselves, connect. If you are not connected to people, you don't have a group, you don't have an association, you don't have a church or a synagogue or a mosque, folks, create a small dinner series. Get to know people, build real world connections, because everything from this moment on is going to be about creating chaos and creating siloed boxes of hate to keep us separated, to make us fearful of one another. So your resistance can look like, how do I bring people together? Does it look like a gardening club? Does it look like a book club? But I need us to be activated and be thinking about on this day, not just this day, but every day moving forward. Am I working to create the future that I want to see? What have I done today to move that ball further? So I want us to really honor and think about Martin Luther King, and not just in terms of what is going around on social media. What is this quote? What is that quote? It is honestly about reflecting on resistance so that you can have the strength and create the tools to be able to move forward. Because I'm telling you, it is a long haul ahead of us. So we have to be the protection that we need for one another, build strength, and chart our way forward. Because I got to tell you that after some of the fuckery that we witnessed today, oh my, the amount of sage that I'm going to burn when I finish this live today. There may be a plume of smoke in Brooklyn somewhere. But it is, as I put in the title of today's show, it's midnight in America. And what does that mean? It's midnight in America, because I want to remind folks of where that terminology comes from. And so here it is. Founded in 1945 by University of Chicago scientists who had helped develop the first atomic weapons in the Manhattan Project, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist created the Doomsday Clock 2 years later, using the imagery of apocalypse, midnight, and the contemporary idiom of nuclear explosion, countdown to zero, to convey threats to humanity and the planet. The decision to move or to leave in place the minute hand of the doomsday clock is made every year by the Bulletin Science and Security Board in consultation with its board of sponsors, which includes 13 Nobel laureates. The clock has become a universally recognized indicator of the world's vulnerability to catastrophe from nuclear weapons, climate change, and disruptive technologies in other domains. We have reached midnight in America. The second inauguration of Donald Trump is a beginning of a new era. The America that we have known, as imperfect as it has been, is no longer. And I said this last week, I said, folks need to grieve the loss of the country that they knew. America is not a perfect place, particularly as somebody who is Black and somebody who is queer and a woman. America at times has felt suffocatingly impossible to manage in, to live inside of. But the beauty has always been in the possibility of what this country can be and should be. Can it live up to its values? Can it live up to what has been carved into marble statues around this country? And it has been each generation's responsibility to move this country forward. Oftentimes against its will. Oftentimes facing violent dissent to what progress looks like for that generation. But nonetheless, what has made America America is the possibility of a thing. The inauguration, the second inauguration of Donald Trump, is a signal, is a shot to try and tell those of us who believe in progress, who believe in possibility, that our time is up. It is to make us give up. When you looked, folks, at that crowd today, at those people who had the audacity, the tactlessness, the tastelessness to boo former presidents of the United States because they weren't from their party. They booed Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton as they walked into the rotunda. You know, the rotunda where Donald Trump had sent his armed mob to go defecate in the halls of democracy. They booed the first Black president on MLK Day in the rotunda as they were announced and walked in. It was disgusting. But it is emblematic of who these people are and where their values are. So this image to me that I saw of Lady Liberty stepping down from her post and packing up her bags and being like deuces felt like the energy I was feeling all day today, watching these clips go around. Because trust and believe, I did not watch the inauguration. I was not giving that motherfucker any ratings today. I read what I needed to read and I saw some clips on social media. But my heart and my spirit was with this photo. Because this president, he don't represent me. He's not even trying to represent people like me, people like us. And the lack of dignity, the lack of class and respect that they showed today in that rotunda is exactly why his mob did what they did. And it's exactly why today, before with his last minutes in office, Joe Biden pardoned the committee members of January 6th, the police officers that testified, staff members of the January 6th committee members, members of his own family. But I will tell you that the mixed signals that we have received from Joe Biden would have my head on a fucking swivel. Today, as he was finishing up all of his pardons, he welcomed Donald Trump back and said, "Welcome home." He gave Donald Trump, right, the opportunity to come in, take selfies with him. He joined the inaugural parade today on his way to the Capitol. Joe Biden didn't have to do any of that. So on one hand, you told us this man was a danger to our democracy, to our country. Then on the other hand, you invite him with open arms back into the White House. Then on the other hand, you preemptively provide blanket pardons to anybody that tried to hold him accountable. And then join him in his inaugural parade? Which one is it, Joe Biden? But this is why I say that Democrats, this old school realm of Democrats, are not prepared for this moment. They are not the leaders that we need. Because they think that the presence of their bullshit bipartisanship will somehow erase the fact that a fascist and a white supremacist is now the president of the United States, possibly the last president of the United States. And this is why I appreciate AOC so goddamn much.
Journalists are like, "Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration?" Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow.
That's as crystal clear as you could get it. No, she didn't go to the inauguration today. Why? Because she don't celebrate rapists. Period. So the fucking sense of normalcy that Joe Biden, George Bush, Barack Obama, and others wanted to provide today, miss me with the bullshit, okay? We all know what it is. So I appreciate Michelle Obama for having led the charge on this and said, "I'm not going." And what's your reason? I don't want to. How about that? I don't need to provide a reason. But AOC's reason was good enough for me. Why aren't you going? I don't celebrate rapists, period. So we have a choice to make, folks. As we begin to really get into this regime, we have a choice to make. You have a choice to make on where you put your energy. You have a choice to make on what you watch, what you take in. You have a choice to make on who you want representing you moving forward. Because if your representatives like mine, weak ass Chuck Schumer, are sitting around having the opportunity to once again be minority leader in the Senate, and I'm like, why? Because usually when you fail, you don't get multiple opportunities to return to the same fucking position again. But that's how white men in power move, and it doesn't matter what party they're a part of. Chuck Schumer, no business being our representative of Democrats in the Senate. I don't want him as my senator anymore. I want people who understand the gravity of where we are and are not looking for opportunities to work across the aisle. I would rather you work to build the pipeline and the infrastructure of new leaders and concentrate on what we need to do in order to resist and make it harder for autocracy to become the law of the land, then welcome these motherfuckers in with open arms talking about we can work on some things together. They are not interested in democracy. They are not interested in furthering this imperfect project. So why would you be wasting your energy and your time on pretending that they are? The normalizing of this fuckery is how we got here in the first fucking place. Because if Biden, right, had used the efforts of 2020, people standing in line in a pandemic to get him into office, to get rid of Donald Trump. And if he had used his power that we gave him back then to ensure this motherfucker wouldn't be walking back in, then his legacy wouldn't be sandwiched with 2 Trump terms, forever intertwined. So I think that we need to grapple with where we are, grieve what has happened, and then we need to move on. Because this happened today. This was not an awful figment of our imagination. By the way, did y'all notice that he didn't put his hand on the Bible? I thought maybe it was a security measure because they were indoors and they didn't want the Bible to go up in flames. Safer to do that outside. But we all know that Donald Trump putting his hand on anybody's Bible like it actually matters. He has no faith, right? He has no God but greed. And his faith being in the grift. I mean, so when you see this, folks, I don't even know what to say. You look around at the dais. Do you think that it was an accident that the dais was filled with the oligarchy, dotted in with members of Donald Trump's family? CEOs of all the major tech companies, Apple, Google, TikTok, Meta, Twitter, SpaceX, all of them there. Prominently so. In the places where dignitaries and leaders and activists should be. And that was a message. That was a message to the American people. These are your new overlords. So pay attention. And I want folks to understand that We are going to be using these platforms because they have become integral to the way that we communicate, the way that we gather information. Understand that moving forward, these places are going to be weaponized against us. The information that you share. When Donald Trump says, I want the list of people who have ever said, fuck Trump or, woke this or woke that, do you think that any of these people are going to say no? They've already said yes. And that's what they showed us today. So, prepare. I looked at this photo. What do you all notice about this picture? Somebody posted, they said, warning, those with sensitive eyes should wear protective eyewear before answering this question. What do you notice? Ding, ding, ding. Did you see a Black person in there? Did you see a person of color in there? Anybody? Anybody? Wild. This is who they are. Even announced today, Vivek Ramaswamy, I think one of the 2 people of color that were going to be included in the Trump regime, has been booted. Booted before Doge even got off the ground. Irreconcilable differences, I guess. But he's gone. Going to be running for governor of Ohio. I'm sure that will go super well. I mean, but let us go to the creme de la creme of what we saw today. What is the picture you all think I'm going to put up next? Because I refuse to do the video. Anybody? Any guesses? Let me show you. What in the world? What in the world is this? Now, you have most people with eyes and ears know exactly what this is. It was trending on his own broke down platform. He gave not 1, but 2 Nazi salutes in thanking supporters. He pounded his chest and then stretched out his arm, not once, but twice. He did it once facing the crowd, and then he turned around and did it again to face Donald Trump and the other supporters. This is who is in charge of government efficiency moving forward. They're not hiding anymore, folks. He's not going to come out with an apology and say, that's not what it was. That's not what I meant. I was just, he doesn't give a fuck. The hoods are off. The armbands are on. So for anybody that wants to offer to me that, oh, this was a symbolism of Rome, yes, that the Romans used until it was co-opted by Mussolini, an Italian fascist, and then turned into the salute that Nazis used moving forward. The first buddy. That's the actual president of the United States, because he bought his place there. From this moment on, all actions, they are a symbol. They are a sign. It is to invoke fear. It is to invoke hopelessness. And I'm telling you right now, don't fall for it. don't think that there are more of them than there are of us. This was a megaphone today. And there is no one that can turn around and tell me, oh, that's not what was meant. Miss me with the bullshit. They know exactly what they are doing. And it ain't good. It ain't good at all. Also, all of the wealth on the stage. Jeff, like, look at this. Look at this. Welcome to the divided states of oligarchy. Elon Musk's wealth in 2012 was $2 billion. In 2025, it is $449 billion. Jeff Bezos' wealth in 2012 was $18 billion. In 2025, it is $245 billion. But it's never going to be enough. It will never be enough. And what do I keep saying about the meme that goes around? It's not that we can't feed the poor. It's that we can't satiate the rich. $18 billion, you wouldn't have been able to spend that in your fucking lifetime. Now, 200 billion? It is obscene. It should disgust us. It shouldn't be like, oh, look what a geniuses they are. It should be like, what did they do to get that money? Who did they harm? Who lost rights? It should be questioned, not celebrated. I think about this every day. What I would do with that money, not out of jealousy, but my God, having that kind of wealth and there still being poverty, there's still being children in this country that go hungry. You have the ability to do good, but this is what you do? Those are not people to be celebrated and lifted up. Those are people to be scrutinized and questioned and, oh yes, in an actual democracy, fucking investigated. But you see, Americans love wealth as much as they love celebrity. And that is how we got to the place that we're in. The glorification of greed vis-a-vis reality TV exploded. It didn't just stay in entertainment. It became a part of our body politic. That is who is leading the country now. People who couldn't tell you the last time they went inside of a grocery store, the last time that they pumped gas, the last time that they probably dropped their kids off at fucking school. So yes, the glorification of wealth and celebrity is what has ruined us. The lottery mentality of people believing that they are one fucking scratch off away from being Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. So they vote against their own interests because if I were them, I would do the same thing. The find out part of the fuck around has arrived because folks are about to recognize what they've done. On the dais, is that really CEO of TikTok sitting next to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, at the president's inauguration? Evidently, yes. Because that little stunt that they pulled, all to curry favor with Donald Trump. Oh, TikTok is such a national security threat that he's sitting right next to the Director of National Intelligence. Donald Trump also posting that he wants TikTok to be 50% owned by the United States. Do you know what that's called? State-owned media. Because autocracy needs a media vessel in order to spread its lies, in order to make the people compliant. I said this before, billionaires will create the problems and then sell you back the solutions. So the stunt that was pulled, TikTok didn't need to go dark, folks. They did that at the behest of Donald Trump, and then they turned the lights back on at the behest of Donald Trump. So I guarantee you that one of Trump's cronies on that stage today is going to buy Twitter and turn it into what Elon Musk did to Twitter. Oh, we are in for it. We are in for it. We are in for it. But nothing makes me sicker. Yes, I meant TikTok. My apologies. That they will buy TikTok and turn it into what Elon Musk did to Twitter. Did you all catch this? Did you see Byron Donalds on Fox referring to Donald Trump as daddy? Can someone explain to me these supposed real men, macho men, referring to another man as daddy? And a black man at that, referring to a white man as his daddy? Somebody make this make sense for me, because it really does not. Disturbing doesn't even cut it. This I wouldn't even run you all the clip, because it was like I think I might have thrown up in my mouth a little bit, because I'm like, I don't even think, like, there was a time when we said that, like, in the first administration, like, maybe Donald Trump has dossiers on everybody and he's like threatening to expose them, and because we needed to try and find some logical way that you would, like, just concede your self-worth and your integrity to kneel before this man. Like, he would have to have something on you. But now I realize this is just who they are. Like, they worship this man. Because let me tell you something, I ain't calling anybody, namely anybody like Donald Trump, my fucking daddy, without, like, I don't know, telling me that you have my family hidden somewhere or some shit. Like, he did this on his own. He wasn't under duress. But he's not the first one to do it. Tucker Carlson said, daddy's back. Charlie Kirk, daddy's home. What? But you want to talk about masculinity? I think you might have lost a pair somewhere, and you may want to go find it. But I'm pretty sure Donald Trump may have it in a safe. You know, let me take a breath, because there's not going to be enough sage post-show for me to, like, wipe this day off. But it's wild. It really, we are in a wild place. And that's why I think that I will offer this reminder all the time. Whatever it is that you hold on to, if it is faith, if it is, pets, gardening, whatever it is, you need to ground yourself, double, triple down on what self-care, mental health looks like for you, because you are going to need it moving forward. You are going to need to find ways to take care so that you do not fall into chaos, into the black hole that is being created. Because my, oh my, oh my, I'm at a loss. But before I get out of here today, I want to remember a true champion for women, for reproductive rights, for progress, for equity, for justice, Cecile Richards, who is the former president of Planned Parenthood, who passed away after a battle with brain cancer. It was announced this morning, and it took my breath away. I had the honor during my time in DC working with movement organizations to work with Cecile Richards. And she was brilliant. And the work that she did with Planned Parenthood was extraordinary. And it hurts. It hurts when you're just like, why do the good ones always go so soon? And yet evil just seems to live for fucking ever. And I don't know the answer to that. But like I said earlier today, if you had the opportunity to join us or you've watched today's episode of Democracy-ish, which is up now, our time here is limited. We don't know when it's going to be up. So what we do each day matters. What are we creating? Who are we loving? How are we sharing? How are we showing up? How do you want to be remembered? Don't waste your time and your days feeling broke down and sorry for yourself because of the state of where we are. Take a moment, right? Take a beat and then take a breath. Be grateful for that breath and get back to it. Because there are too many people who have worked too hard, who have risked so much and given us so much to get us to where we are. And we would do them a grave disservice by giving up. Because right now feels too hard and it's too dark. When you cannot find the light, know that you are the light. And project that out into the world. And that is what folks did today in Washington, D.C. The People's March had thousands of people at the Lincoln Memorial. Look at this picture. This is people that decided to show up and to show out and be seen and be heard. That was today. You're not going to probably see that, right? Because you're going to see Donald Trump. You're going to see the Nazi salute. You're going to see all of these things, but you're not going to see the power of the people. Because the power of the people is a threat to those that are in power. So they need to minimize the impact and the voices so that we don't see that there are more of us than there are of them. So let this be a reminder. And finally, let me tell you something. This image today of the first Black woman Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, sitting with this magnificent necklace and earrings made of cowrie shells, whose symbolism means so much. But one of them is ancestral protection and power. This was a symbol today. This is what power looks like. Reminding yourself of all whom you carry with you in every room, in every space. That was ancestral today. That was spirit today. I encourage all of you to look up the different meanings of the cowrie shells. But my God, this Black woman justice sitting in her power in that sea of whiteness today. If that is not a symbol of strength, I don't know what is. So take that with you and hold that up, because if she can sit there in that sea today, we can continue the work that we have in front of us. And dear friends, I will close out with this quote today by Martin Luther King Jr. It's actually one of my favorites because it is a necessary reminder. He said this: I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. That, to me, is one of the most powerful quotes, because we are constantly told, not right now. Now is not the moment. We must wait. There is no more urgent time than now. The time for waiting has passed. The time for making excuses for those that say that they are on your side, but then welcome the devil into your house. We need to walk forward with open eyes, open mouths, and open hearts, because it is the only way. It is the only way that we are going to get through. Let's take a collective deep breath in and out. Y'all, we are going to get through this. Like I have said, we may not all experience the progress that we want to see. We may not all be able to eat the fruit of the seeds that are being planted. That should not be our goal. The goal should be to seed the ground for the future. regardless of what you will see and experience. And ask yourself, what is the future I am willing to work for? What am I willing to risk? How can I create progress each and every day with the power and the space that I have? That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moodie Show. As always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, stay safe. I will be back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the Danielle Moodie Show and Town Hall Tuesday. So do come with your questions ready. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you tomorrow.